Hey guys, welcome back to Coffee with Composers. I'm Joe Chris, and today's guest is Canadian musician and composer Jay McCarrol. Jay has worked on films such as The Kid Detective, last year's critically acclaimed Blackberry, and one of my favorite films of this year, Hell of a Summer. In addition to being a composer, Jay's been part of a web series since 2006, which then became a sitcom and is now going to be a movie. The web series is called Nirvana the Band The Show. Before we start the interview, I do just want to point out that we have started a mailing list, and if you are interested in joining the mailing list, it is going to be in the show notes, so check that out. And we've also launched a YouTube channel under my name, Joe Chris, so be sure to check that out for some great music content. Anyway, let's hop into this. Hey, thanks for joining me today, Jay. One thing that I find so interesting about you is you were doing web series basically since the start of the YouTube era with your friend Matt, who you actually worked with on a bunch of projects, including two recent ones, Blackberry and Hell of a Summer. How did you guys meet, and how did you get into all of this?
Well, I'll clarify, Matt didn't have anything to do with Hell of a Summer.
I thought he directed that. My bad.
No, you know who directed that is Finn Wolfhard and Billy Brick, who starred in it as well. Yeah, it was their first feature, and they're a bunch of young guys who are at the same age as Matt and I when we started our web series way back in 2006, when web series were just like, what are these web series? Well, this has got to be terrible then. This is just so yes, it was. We did feel new. The only thing that was giving us a sort of North Star, like the whole concept of Nirvana the band, we actually originally wanted to just make a short film or a movie, and we saw this web series, Clark and Michael, starring Mike Cera and Clark Duke, and we're like, you know what? Let's just take this exact like template of a 10-episode, 10-minute each webisode format, and let's just do exactly this, because we've got our own characters, we've got our own ideas, and we just started, figuring our way through that just chronologically in time. Like we weren't like writing ahead. We were kind of just writing the next episode as we went. And that's how we kind of found our voice, and certainly how Matt honed his voice in filmmaking.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of that voice and tone really carried over into Blackberry last year, too. Like, you could really see the parallels in it.
Well, it was a long journey. It was from the web series and then to Matt's two first features that were also done sort of very found footage style, and then to our TV show, which sort of elevated it again, where we sort of were refining and getting our, like, really starting to understand and articulate what the technique was of that filmmaking. And then Blackberry was the challenge to sort of say, how do we do this and make it look like a movie and not like found footage, but using all the same principles of foreground, private moments, distance far at the end of the lens, using zoom to really meet a character's performance halfway. There's a lot of little techniques that we were very self-aware of at that point.
Awesome. In Blackberry, how did you sort of approach that modern, like late 90s feel, but still keep it kind of contemporary in sound?
In the score, a lot of it was just a reaction to, as I was building my template of sounds and just kind of experimenting with just starting to build my template, I would just find something that evoked something 90s, anything 90s, and it would just become a piece. Like I would just kind of leave that track with that instrument there, call it something, and then I would build my template that way. And then it seemed for a lot of weeks, I was just doing a lot of very free experimentation. I'd throw some dailies up to just kind of look at and try, and I went far in different directions. And I remember there was just a certain point after, maybe a little bit after principal photography was done, and I was sending some demos and stuff to our editors, and they wrote back after just one particular big batch of like demo songs, and they're like, wow, like it really feels like you've found the sound. And I didn't even realize it And then I kind of took a step back and I said, okay, if this is getting the sort of reaction, then I can start to refine. I can start to put my guardrails around this sound, and I started to understand like what my boundaries were of the whole spectrum of it. And from then on, it was like a downhill sprint.
Awesome. Do you usually like to come on to a project earlier like that, or do you tend to get in pretty late?
Honestly, I'd love to sort of have the rule that I've heard is a very tried, tested, and true rule from film composers where they say, I'm not running a note until I have picture lock, and I'll just watch the whole movie fresh, done, and it'll speak to me. And I see that process as being really exciting and inspiring. And I just haven't been able to do it because with the few directors that I have worked with, I think maybe we end up getting into a lot of conversations. Just they let me into some of the filmmaking, and I'm very inquisitive about how it's being shot and like what's happening. And it just so happens that, we just start talking about trying stuff, and I just end up getting started. And it's probably for the better, so it doesn't all bottleneck at the end. But I'm still looking forward to a project where I can just watch the movie. That's what John Williams talks about all the time. Is like, I don't like to read the script. I like to just watch it, and it'll speak to me. And and it's just like, that sounds really nice.
Awesome, awesome. On a Hell of a Summer, did you come in towards the? I guess you didn't come in when you had a locked cup, but how did that process go? Especially navigating that sort of horror comedy divide.
Yeah.
Had you?
Again, yeah, I started sending some ideas to Finn and Billy pretty early, and they were very good at sort of being opinionated about like where they wanted to go with it, and they had what's impressive about those guys is that they have this kind of charming voice of comedy, and maybe you can call it dark comedy, but it's certainly their own brand that they're honing in on. And so they're really good with each other about, process of elimination of just like what works, what doesn't. They might not explain exactly what it is, but they know what they don't want it to be. And that's something that I have a lot in common with them, with the way Matt and I worked. A lot of process of elimination where we agree more about what we don't want it to be than what we want it to be. And that can sort of just start at least giving you some direction.
Interesting. Were there any scores in particular you were trying to like lean into, like for references or on that one?
Yeah, I mean they did have some references that they sent me, but it was again like pretty wide. It didn't necessarily point to something so specifically. The way they shot it and the way it looked, it certainly was lending itself more to certain directions. And the moment I started just finding the right balance of old school synth, like carpentry stuff, but also kind of trying to give it that modern cinematic lift where it needs. But, when you talk about independent scoring versus maybe the bigger studio picture scoring, this is certainly, I think, an example of that independent stuff where there's so much little tiny bespoke ways that this score was made. Like it is the sum of all of its little tiny pieces that were coming from a lot of different places. I feel like we were kind of honing in on what it was for a long time. And they were very opinionated about it, and we chipped away at it until it got to just the right amount of sort of like dreadful fun that sort of in a weird way just sort of worked with it. I was just with Fred Heckinger, who starred in it. We were on set of a movie that Finn and Billy are in again. And Fred was visiting, and I was visiting, and I hadn't seen Fred in a while. And he said to me, "He's like, oh, dude, the score, it's so like," he kind of described it to me. He's like, "It's so pretty, but like, it's kind of dark and scary. Like there's something that's like just off about it in a way that I like so much. And I was like, thanks, man. You get me. That's definitely a good thing in my books.
Absolutely. I love the score. I mean, that's how I ended up reaching out to you. Going more on that, though, that idea of independent versus Hollywood, what are some things you kind of see in the independent world as a composer that might not be as common in like a large budget production like Dune, for example?
Um, well, I would say that like you can there's something about some of these scores that I've done where you could certainly A B my score against Dune and just hear an incredible difference and disparity of fidelity and volume and spectrum of sound that is just leaping out at you. But because there is a lot of movies out there where we're conditioned to hear that huge just tidal wave of Hans Zimmer coming at you, you kind of just accept it right as soon as you hear it. You're just like, okay, so that's what I'm watching, and it is like incredible to hear. But perhaps something that our ears also, it's not necessarily like always everyone's favorite thing, and like you don't even need to have a favorite. Just for the variety of it, you can have a score that is, smaller and seemingly more intricate in all of its idiosyncrasies and strangeness and things that sound like happy mistakes and rough around the edges. And you end up going through those scores with a fine comb, and you choose which skeletons you're hiding under the closet and which you're showing. And in the end, it can have a very, charming effect. I remember that my score for Kid Detective had this sort of effect where it was, it sounds like it should be maybe done by the big Henry Mancini band, like for real. But it has something a little more indie to it that narratively, I think, works even better for that story. And so, there's a couple projects that I have coming up where I know I need to sort of graduate out of indie sound to be able to, and a few projects where I thought, where I'm thinking like, hey, if this project does come to me, I need to figure out how to expand and be able to deliver the full tidal wave of sound. But I don't know. It's certainly really fun to do the very bespoke little tiny moves and rough around the edges moves to develop an indie score.
Absolutely. One thing that little detail on your production that I loved was the you have like the tape crackle all over the soundtrack of Blackberry.
Yeah.
Like little things like that really just add so much to the character and feel of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And finding the right one of those too. Going through like so many different like vinyl hisses and just finding the one that just warms the ears, even though it's just noise. It's just static and crackle and glitch. So
Those
you
were
find
samples?
the right one. Yeah.
Oh wow.
You just yeah, and you build so many, like I collected so many samples of things, and that's just and yeah, just going through them all is just a crazy process that I don't want to talk about.
Is sampling a big part of your process generally, or is it just more like for this one film?
It's mostly for that one film, like on Nirvana the band movie that I just finished. The score is very on purpose trying to do the Alan Silvestri thing, all in the box. Actually, I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of real stuff. And I have, for the first time, one cue about to be done by a whole orchestra in Moscow. So I can't wait to finally do that for the first time. But that's all traditional orchestra stuff. I don't need to like really search for a sound that I am thinking in my head doesn't exist, and I have to sort of manifest it through creating it or just going through samples and building it. that was a sort of fun score to just be a traditional composer and just choose the right notes and really work the orchestration and arrangement to like sound as legit as I possibly can, just as one man and a computer can.
That's awesome. Outside of the film scoring world, do you have any other musical projects you have going on?
Yeah, I have a record coming out that I co-wrote and produced with Amy Milan of Stars and Broken Social Scene, and we had a great time making this record. It's a big, full journey of sound in this record, and it's been a while since I've written, some pretty standard like format of like just going for it with the pop indie sound, and it was really fun to be in the world with really talented people that are a little more just open to the exploratory nature of just sound and not sound for picture, because sound for picture takes priority, like, or at least the sum of all parts takes priority, and you need to be ready for a lot of feedback and getting it wrong and wrong and wrong till you get it right. It's a long negotiation with, I mean, sometimes you're out of the gates and it's right, but you have to be ready for a long negotiation in film scoring. And in songwriting, I feel like, at least the way I like to work, I don't like a lot of negotiation there. I like just trying to pick your team right and being in a mode of just expression. And it is what it is. And whatever this take was, or this song, however that happened, is true to itself.
Cool. Does that project have a name yet, or anything you could share on that, or no?
Yeah, it's Amy Milan. Amy Milan is the name of the artist, and she's wonderful, and it was great working with her. And that comes out, I think, the 30th of this month or 28th.
Oh, super
it's
close.
Gonna be, yeah, and there's some singles out, so look up Amy Milan. It's some great songs. We put a lot of love into them.
Beautiful. Now, you are also a Berklee College of Music grad.
I prefer to say I attended Berklee College of Music.
Okay. Awesome. So like John Mayer.
I did 3 years. I did 3 years.
That's basically it.
That's basically it, yeah.
When did you leave?
2005.
And what were you studying while you were there?
Film scoring.
Cool. So you, within 2 years, you started Nirvana, the band, the show, the web series.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
And I left Berklee for the summer, and a film student at Emerson, Chris Russell was his name, he offered me to do the score for his first feature, and it was really exciting to do. Like, and it was actually like kind of like a precursor, spiritual cursor to Kid Detective. It's like a young detective guy going around. It was very, there was some more like Mancini elements to that, and I got to sort of get my feet wet with orchestration. And I went and I was working on that at home, and I became a part-time musical director at Second City, and started working with Matt. And I basically just was like, I kind of got a head start here, just working, and so I didn't want to go back and just sort of slug it out with that last bit of music school. As we all know, music school is just what you make of it. And I took a lot from Berklee. The experience is amazing. The people there, a lot of talent, and a few just fundamental film composing tricks. You know what I mean? Just the fundamentals, basically. And some just film classes that I'm glad that I absorbed while I was there.
Awesome. I have just one simple question left. Where can people find you who are interested in following you, your work, and your future projects?
I primarily just operate on Instagram, so just at Jay McCarrol, and JayMcCarrol, and that's where I'm just kind of exclusively, that's my marquee of news and just what's going on. And we've got our Nirvana the Band movie coming out, got the Amy Milan record coming out, a lot of other fun things coming down the pipe. It's an exciting time. And as an artist in this world, you always kind of feel like you're on borrowed time when you're working and putting things out. So, just happy to be on the current wave right now.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Jay. This has been great, and hope to chat soon.
Thank you, Joe.